What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we're gonna take a look at this. The Walrus Audio Ages 5-state overdrive. Let's do it! That thing is hot. All right, hope you guys are doing great out there again. Today, as I stated, we are going over the Walrus Ages 5-state overdrive. This thing was really interesting to me the very first time that I heard it announced, and I am actually super pumped because Walrus sent me out one to try. So, even though they sent me this pedal for free, and this is a sponsored video of sorts, I'm gonna give you guys my 100% honest feedback on this thing as always. So this pedal is interesting because it has 5 different modes built in to the single pedal. Right here, this middle dial, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the pot, boom, stops on each one of them. So it gives you 5 different drive options, all within a single pedal to choose from. That is extremely useful because you can stick this thing in front of pretty much any amp you want and get an overdrive style in this single pedal that's gonna work really well in front of any amp. Right here, I have my EVH 5153 EL34 50 watt, God, that's so many numbers, on the blue channel. Now I have done the C137 mod to this amp, so the blue channel on this amp is gonna sound more like the traditional blue channel on the 6L6 model, so keep that in mind. Down here I have a 1986, I believe, JCM 800 2204. This amp has a ton of gain on tap on the blue channel. This amp does not have a lot of gain on tap. So you're really gonna get to see how much this can boost 2 different types of amps, a modern super high gain amp versus a vintage mid-level gain amp. That intro clip that you heard, I had it on the 3rd position, and we're gonna go over each position in this video. This pedal also features a volume control, a dry or blend knob, a gain knob, and then it gives you control over the bass and the treble frequencies. Unlike a lot of overdrives, like say this TS9 right here, it gives you control over the bass response and over the treble response. Now me personally, because I like to control kind of the upper mids and the highs at once with the tone controls on your traditional style TS9 pedals, I would have liked to have seen a tone in a bass knob, much like the modified OD here has, but the high, I mean, still gives you a little bit more tonal flexibility to dial in each guitar to each amp properly, so it's definitely a nice feature to have. The bass, of course, we're gonna wanna cut bass frequencies depending on what we're going for, or add them depending on the amp, so that is also a really nice feature over a single tone knob that would kind of give you only a little bit of control over the middle and high frequencies. Not super professional, but I don't have the best memory, so I'm gonna read you the modes off of the actual website for the pedal because I'm not going to remember them off the top of my head. So I'm just being honest with you guys. Belligerent amateur working here. So this features 5 different states. Number 1, low gain mode with symmetric silicone soft clipping, compressed and smooth. Number 2, low gain mode with symmetric LED soft clipping, pushed, open and sparkly. Number 3, high gain mode with symmetric silicone soft clipping, increased saturation and tight. Number 4, high gain mode with symmetric LED soft clipping, saturated, punchy and big. And the 5th mode, high gain with symmetric silicone hard clipping, heavy compression, thick and chewy. So let's go ahead and put this back to mode number 1. We're gonna dial it with everything at noon, and we're gonna take a look at how much each control affects our signal. On top of that, you have a dry knob, which essentially, if you have it all the way to the left, it's not really imparting its voicing that much onto the amp, but the more that you turn it over to the right, the more you're gonna hear the clipping, the more you're going to hear the tonal variation that is in whatever mode that you're on. and it's really gonna start to color your amp more and more. So if you really just wanna get the level effects of this thing and a little bit of the EQ, a little bit of the clipping, you're gonna wanna have it more towards the left. But if you really want to impart a specific voicing or the character of the pedal on the amp, you're gonna push it more to the right, and we'll play with that as well. So I'm gonna put everything back to noon, including the dry. We're gonna turn the gain all the way down. We're gonna turn the level up. Both of our EQs are at noon. And we're gonna start on mode 1, and we're gonna go through this thing, starting with the EVH and moving to the JCM 800. All right, real quick before we do that, if this is your first time here at this channel, what I do is I take awesome high gain amps, pedals, cabinets, guitars, record them with a simple SN57 setup, and give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E-standard thrash riffs and slightly overweight middle-aged guys, you're in the right place. If you'd like to help support my channel, down in the description are links to my Patreon, my Facebook group, my Amazon affiliate links, and my Discord server. Go down there, check those out. Let's hang out, talk gear. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. If you dig this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks! All right, so I'm gonna kick the boost off, and here is the blue channel of the EVH with no boost in front of it. We are using my 2002 Gibson Les Paul 1958 reissue. This is my baby, my favorite guitar, and I have a Vineham Rampage in the bridge, which is sort of like a bare knuckle painkiller. All right, so we are on mode number 1. Let's kick in the ages. Okay, now like I said, mode number 1 is the low gain mode with the symmetrical silicone soft clipping. So let's go ahead and dial that dry knob all the way to the left, and let's see what it sounds like with the pedal signal kind of taken out of it a little bit. All right, let's dial that up to 9 o'clock. Noon. All right, up to 3 o'clock. And finally, all the way over to the right. So as you can tell, the more that you go over this way, the more you kind of get some compression, the more you get a little bit of saturation from the clipping diodes. We're gonna dial it back to about noon, because that's where it sounds best to me. I like things a little bit less compressed. Let's check out what the bass knob does. We're gonna dial it all the way down. Okay, up to 9 o'clock. Noon. We're already adding quite a bit of bass frequencies. 3 o'clock. And finally, all the way up. All right, so that adds quite a bit. Frankly, I like it all the way down because I like to cut the lows out with my boosts in front of the amp. That way it tightens things up nicely. All right, now let's do the same with the treble. 9 o'clock. Already getting some treble added in there. Noon. 3 o'clock. And finally, all the way up. All right, so that definitely adds some treble. I'm not sure exactly what frequency it's operating at, but to be truthful, the more I dialed it up, the more I didn't like it. So we're gonna roll it back a little bit. And just like that, man, this pedal sounds great. Mode 1, right in front of the EVH. We are going to actually dial the level down and see how much push we get out of this mode. Okay, that's 9. Here's noon. Already pushing it a good bit, up to 3 o'clock. We're already pushing it nicely, and all the way up. Dude, that sounds awesome. We're pushing a lot, and this is supposed to be like the lowest gain mode on this pedal. We're already getting a ton of extra saturation and output out of this thing, so it's always nice to have more than less when it comes to the output because you can dial the output back. If you don't have enough output on the pedal, then you're kind of stuck at whatever the pedal's limited to. So the TS9, we go over to the TS9 with the level all the way up. Here's what it sounds like. versus the Ages. So we're getting a decent amount more out of the Ages. Let's go over to mode number 2. Let's see how that sounds. So mode number 2 is low gain with symmetric LED clipping versus the symmetric silicone soft clipping. All right, back to mode 1. I can't tell a huge difference between the two, honestly. It seems like mode number 2 has maybe a little bit more bite to it, but overall, not a huge difference. The output seems to be about the same. Let's go over to mode 3. This is where I have really been using the pedal most myself. This is the high gain mode with symmetrical silicone soft clipping. This is supposed to be like the tight high gain mode. All right, so that's got a lot of kick to it, man. It really does. Let's turn the gain up on the amp just a tad. A lot of kick. It's pretty bright up top too. So if we turn that off, here's the amp with no boost. And on. Man, that has a ton of kick to it. Let's try pulling the dry back. All right, let's pull it up to 3 o'clock. Again, dialing that dry up adds some compression, it adds some clipping and some saturation to it. It kind of smooths it out a little bit. Whereas the more you pull it back, the more it opens up your signal going into the amp. So if you want more of the natural character, just pull it back this way. And if you want more of the pedal character, dial it up a little bit. We're gonna leave it right around 1 o'clock. Sounds great. It really, really does. Let's go over to mode number 4. So this is the high gain mode with the LED symmetrical clipping. This one's supposed to sound a little bit bigger and punchier than mode 3. Okay, that mode sounds great too. So yeah, 4 seems to kind of round out the lows and low mids a little bit, whereas number 3 keeps them nice and tight. Finally, let's go to mode number 5. This is the high gain mode with the silicone symmetrical hard clipping versus the soft clipping on mode number 3. This is supposed to give you lots of compression and thicken the tone up. Sounds great. Again, it's a little bit woofy on the low end. Let's dial that bass up too, just to see how much that'll make a difference. Yeah, if you were going for something like thicker and high gain, you want to kind of like a doomy tone, roll those highs back, roll the bass up, roll the dry up. And that really, really fattens things up quite a bit. All right, so let's go over to the JCM 800. I'm gonna put the gain, the bass back down. I'm gonna put the treble back up just under noon. Volume all the way up. We're gonna put the dry in the middle. Let's see how mode 1 sounds on the 800. Okay, let's go over to mode 2. Mode 2, again, a little bit fatter, a little bit fuller sounding on the low end, not quite as tight. Mode 3, this is the higher output mode. That sounds fantastic. I mean, usually I need to stack boosts or put a Legendary Tones hot mod into the 800 to get the gain levels out of it that I would really like to, but this thing gets you pretty much there on mode number 3. Let's add a little gain from the pedal. See how that changes things up. So that adds a lot of saturation, enough that I can actually pull the amp gain back a little bit and tighten the amp up, because the JCM 800 tends to get a little flubby when you push the preamp gain. Guys, that sounds great for a single boost in front of an 800. We're getting a lot of gain out of that. Let's roll the gain back. Let's go over to mode 4. Let's turn it all the way over to 5. Nice and dark and smooth. Let's roll back that treble again. Let's add some gain from the pedal. Alright guys, so this pedal sells for $199 new. If you ask me, my 2 complaints about the pedal: number 1, I wish that the bass, you cut a little bit more bass and low mids with it all the way down. There's plenty of range in there. There's more lows that I would think that most people would want out of a boost style pedal. I would really like them to trim a little bit more of those lows and low mids with that bass knob all the way down. My personal taste, I just like the way that like a standard tube screamer circuit cuts those lows and really makes them punchy, compresses them. And then the treble knob, I'm not sure what frequency that treble operates at, but to me it's not the most pleasant one, and I would like to see it a little bit more in the high mid range. That treble knob, I noticed I had to dial it back a little bit, or the signal coming out of the amp would be kind of harsh. So those are my 2 complaints. Otherwise, I think the pedal is absolutely fantastic. I will definitely be using this thing moving forward. Thanks again to Walrus Audio for sending me this thing and letting me check it out. If you have this pedal, let me know what I got right or got wrong down in the comments, or what applications you guys use it for. I'm always curious to see how you guys are liking the gear that I review and how you use it. If you like the video, please hit the like button on the way out. Consider subscribing. I'm so glad to have you guys here as always. Kyle here again. We'll see you guys next time. Bye!